Good morning. How's everybody doing? It's really good to be here this morning. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Today I want to talk about respect. The men in your life need it, the boys and the men. And I'm going to share with you why the correlation is there for both of those. So, respect is actually another way to show love, especially towards males in the household. And when I use this word, sometimes moms are thinking, what do you mean respect? I'm the mom, I need to get them to do certain things. And that is true. But you need to get them to do things in a certain way. And so I want to just welcome you guys to the Freedom Forum. It's a place where moms can get free and get the tools that they need to make sure their children win. And so this respect thing is something that I was bound in. I didn't get it, and I really didn't even care to get it until I began to see that the impact of my relationship with my husband was having an impact on my son in a very subtle way. And so when I talk about respect and I'm talking about moms and their sons, I'm talking about things like giving them space, especially as they're growing and they're getting older. Sons do not want moms in their face or pointing their finger or giving them lots of instruction, because they need to feel like they're becoming men. And in our society, women in their psyche, they have like an understanding that you're not supposed to be telling me stuff because I'm a man. And so as a mom, you have to be very creative in how you instruct your son, especially if there is not a dad in the home. It's really important that you are very thoughtful with your words. And it's very important that you learn to become concise with what you say to them. I had a mom, that's right, they need to know the boundaries. And so when you're trying to help them with the boundaries, you do it in a way that lets them know that you honor who they are as men. And so I had a mom who, she was a single mom, and she had a lot of words. And so she would talk to her sons, and she would talk, and she would talk, and she would talk. And I mean, the talking was just starting to wear them down. Now, what she said was valid, and what she was trying to get them to understand was right. But she didn't get that you can't give a boy, too many words. You have to learn how to speak to them. Hey, y'all, good to see you this morning. You have to learn to speak to them in a way that is concise and that gets to the point. For them, that is respect. Hey, Sakithia, good to see you. And so for a lot of us as moms, I don't think we get it. I know for me, I had to learn that if I was going to build my house up, if I was going to build my children up, my son up in particular, I had to learn how he thinks. I had to learn how he ticks. I had to treat him differently than his sisters, even with giving instruction. Like I could tell his sisters, do this, do that, do the other. But with my son, I had to say, do this, and then come back to me. And then do that, and then come back to me. And I'll tell you the next thing. And then do that, and come back to me. And it just created a lot more peace. Respect is about understanding how the other person thinks. Like with my son, I would say, did you take out the trash? And he would say, yes, I did. And I would go and notice that there was trash all around a trash can. that he had opened the back door, the sliding door, and looked like he had taken the trash bag out of the trash can and threw the bag towards the trash can out in the backyard. And on the days he missed, he did not go and get it. And in his mind, that was taking out the trash. And so I realized that there was something missing. I used to say, "You're lying. You know you didn't take out the trash, or you didn't do it the right way." And finally, I realized this is not about lying. This is respecting how he processes things. And so we actually put together a list, a checklist. For this is how you take out the trash. Because believe it or not, ladies, when you've done something for a long, long time, you don't realize there are lots of steps to it. And so as I began to sit with him and write out the steps for taking out the trash, I realized there are like 7 steps to taking out the trash. And so step 1, was make sure you take the trash out of the can. And step 2 is get all the trash that's still in the trash can and all the trash that's around. And then step 3 is actually open the door, walk down the stairs to the trash can in the backyard, and make sure you put the trash in the bag in the trash can and put the top back on it. And then step 5, come back in the house and get another trash bag, put it in the trash can, make sure it's secure, check to make sure there's no trash, and then you have emptied the trash. Well, he wasn't thinking about all those details. I was. And I realized I showed respect to him by being able to write it out. And the next time I asked him, "Did you empty the trash?" And he said, "Yes." I could say, "Would you please go check your checklist and make sure you've done all those things on it? And then come back and just confirm for me that you emptied the trash." And that's just a simple way of showing respect. Yes, that's right, Sakithia. Writing it down helps a lot. Because sometimes we, as women, we have so many more words. We're so much more verbal. We're trying to figure out, well, why don't you get it? I told you that, and I said it 3 times. But for boys, sometimes it doesn't go in like that. And so you have to come up with other ways to help them to be able to get it. That's respecting the way that they're made. So, if your goal is to build up your child, your husband, your family, you have to learn to respect those that you are connecting with or communicating with. So there's this story that I have. I was at a church, and it's a little embarrassing, but I'm going to share it because it might help someone else. And a member of the church, a gentleman, approached me and said, "Your daughter is, she's really rude." She probably was about 9 at that point. He said, "She sounds like the way you talk to your husband." And I was like, who do you think you're talking to? And for a minute, I was about to go off on that brother. Now, he could have said it another way, but when he said, "She sounds like the way you talk to your husband," I had to go back and think a minute. Well, how do I talk to him? And when I actually began to process the way that I connected with him, I realized that I was not always respectful. And not only was my son watching me as this woman, be disrespectful to my husband. And I wasn't cussing him out or, it wasn't anything like that. It was just not honoring the way God made him. And God made him different from the way that he made me. And I did not understand that I needed to learn how to respect the way that he was made because my son was watching. And so not only was it about my husband and making sure that I was respecting him, but my son was also watching. And it was doing some negative things for him just in terms of women and And boy, women, and how they interact with men. And, right now, he didn't process all of that, but God was showing me he was going to. And he might not necessarily have good relationships with women if I continued interacting with dad that way, because it also meant I was interacting with him that way. And so I had to go to my daughter and I had to apologize. And I had to call that thing what it was. Mom has been disrespectful in how she has spoken to dad. I'm always rushing and I want dad to move fast and get this done and get that done. And sometimes I'm impatient and I'm wrong. And I need you to know that and recognize that. And I promise you that mom is going to do better. And so I started on this journey. And, when I started thinking about what to do, I would think about the fact that, and maybe some of you can relate to this, when my husband and I would go somewhere like to the mall, and he was driving, he moved at a much slower pace. You could say I was like a hare or a rabbit, and he was like the tortoise, the turtle. He would move very slowly. Because he wanted to make sure that everything was good and safe. The car was in good order. By the time he finished, got the car turned off, got out the car, locked it, I was already in the store. I had no patience for it all. I didn't understand why it took him so long. It just irritated me to no end. Until God began to show me, you, Anita, need to do better at honoring the way I've made your husband. Slow is not bad. Slow is not bad. That's what he had to teach me. He taught it to us through one of our daughters who struggled with her reading. In our society, Gwen, you said that's me and your husband. Okay, good. You know my pain, right? So slow is not bad. Slow in our society is thought to be bad. But if you have a surgeon and you have cancer and he's looking at your x-rays and he's fast and he just, oh yeah, you're fine. That might not be so good. That's a time when slow is better. When you have somebody who actually is methodical, they're detailed, they're looking through, they will be the person who will be able to say, I see a spot right there, in that area. Let's do some more research over there. They'll be the person who will find that spot, that cancer, and be able to get treatment for it. And so I had to learn that slow means people are processing. It means that they are detail oriented. It means that sometimes I need to slow down. And that my anxiousness and impatience is not about the fact that they're going too slow. It's about the fact that I'm going too fast. And do you know that you make mistakes sometimes when you go too fast? I know I did. And so in time, I began to understand, I began to honor. I'm going to be honest with y'all guys. I was frustrated in my marriage, probably for the first 15 years, and I've been married 34, because I didn't get this principle. I kept trying to get him to be more like me. I kept trying to get my son to do things the way I do them. And in time, God began to show me more and more, I am the creator. I do not make mistakes. I make people the way I make them because I have a purpose for that thing. So my husband happens to be an architect. He needs detail. He needs detail to understand, to be able to look at drawings, to be able to make sure the measurements are right so the building comes out right. Awesome, Gwen. I'm glad this is helping you. I had to begin to honor that in him and stop feeling like something's wrong with him because he's not like me. My son is a self-taught computer programmer. He is an amazing photographer. Talk about eye for detail. Needing the ability to be able to look at something in a way that other people cannot see. And my son, I see that detail in his photography. When he takes pictures, there's things that he notices. He'll take a picture, 50 pictures of one thing. And when you look at it, it's 50 different little things that were different in each of those pictures, because he has that eye for detail that I did not respect because he wasn't like me. But I learned that these men in my life belong to God. And he told me one day, Sister Anita, you have got to do better, because Glenn is my child and so is Ricky. And you're not treating them like I want you to treat them. I need you to work on that. So I'm thanking the Lord for that. I'm thanking him for teaching me not to be up in my boys' faces and my son's face and to learn how to give him space and to treat him like the man that he is today. I thank God that he taught me that I needed to learn to honor the way that God made him. I needed to learn how to honor the way that God made his dad. Because as I say all the time, much more is caught than taught. And my son has an amazing and thankful, I'm so thankful, amazing wife. She loves him and she cooks for him and she takes care of him. And he was able to find someone who respects him because his mama learned how to respect him. And so he knew what to look for when he started looking for his good thing. Perfect? Did I do it perfectly? Absolutely not. Did I make mistakes? Absolutely, I did. But God brings a grace to us human beings that doesn't require us to be perfect. It just requires us to love God and strive to hear his voice and obey. So, let me see. Was there anything else I wanted to share with you? So I hope today you have a different perspective and maybe understand a little bit more about respect in your son and how it's connected to respect in your husband, even if he doesn't deserve the respect. I'm not advocating abuse or any of those kind of things. But always remember, if you want your son to find a respectful wife, you must be a respectful mom. All right, guys. I love you. Have a fantastic day.